And we are back. Thanks for watching another episode of The Sports Trader. My name is John Todora, and of course, I am The Sports Trader. I love sports. I live sports, and I make a great living off of sports, actually. Such a good living that, in fact, I was able to walk away from all my businesses a few years ago and just do this, which I'm having a blast at. More about what I do later. This is my show on YouTube. It's brand new, and if you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe and click the like button. Now, let's get a couple things out of the way. We've got a ton of topics we're going to talk about today. Of course, we're going to touch on what's going on in America with the riots. We're going to talk about Major League Baseball and the fact that Major League Baseball is coming back, it looks like, hopefully. We're going to talk about Jon Jones, who recently vacated the UFC light heavyweight championship of the world. And then we're also going to talk about the NBA, which, again, is hopefully coming back and we can start to get to some normalcy. But speaking of how abnormal everything is in this entire world, we're all more than aware of what's going on with in the country. As we get details more and more, things are happening all across the country as far as many peaceful protests, which I am fully in support of, and of course some craziness going on with people that appear to be outside of the jurisdiction of the protesters, separate groups that have joined the protesters and have not only, in my opinion, soiled what the protesters are trying to accomplish, but have also caused quite a bit of unrest throughout the country with robbing, looting. They've killed a couple of police officers. There have been many civilians who were injured. I saw a horrific video today of a gentleman laying in a pool of blood. Just was absolutely awful. A black man who was working at a store. I mean, just absolutely not what it was supposed to be about. And I'd love to tell you what I feel about all of this, but you don't care. As a matter of fact, that's what our first segment's actually going to be about, which is when people want to watch something like this or get lost in sports or entertainment. I feel that there is a value in that, and I feel like when somebody insists that a sports personality or a celebrity make a statement on who they voted for or how they feel about this issue or that issue, I am all for your right to express what you think or feel. I would just rather, and I would truly prefer that you did not do it while I was trying to watch sports. I just would rather that didn't happen. I bring this up because I recently saw a tweet. I shouldn't spend any time on Twitter, actually. It's such a toxic place. But I saw a tweet. Pro Football Talk has made several very political tweets lately, which I find to be incredibly annoying to me because I really just want to listen to what's going on about pro football. That's kind of why I follow them. I follow other people that are making political tweets, and I think those people do what they do, and if I want to ignore them, I can. But when it starts to take over everything, everyone's aware of what's going on outside. There's no reason to continue to put it on your Twitter feed and make a statement, in my opinion, because I don't believe that that's where it belongs. I believe Twitter's like a news source. So people are going on there to see news or some information, and I'm going there, and I follow the people that I follow, particularly because I don't want to be bothered and inundated with the constant left versus right, good versus evil battle. I follow some sports things. That's what I go there for. I don't want to be part of the toxicity that I used to follow. CNN, I followed Fox. I just got rid of all of that. I got rid of all of that out of my life. I didn't want to watch the left versus right. I don't care anymore. I just want to make money. I want to watch sports. I want to chase girls. I want to have some drinks every once in a while. That's my life. Anyway, so Pro Football Talk leaves this tweet up there. It says, only a few NFL coaches have had anything to say about the current social unrest. Where are the rest of them? Well, and I responded back by saying they're at home with their families. Not everyone needs to make a statement on everything. And that's really how I feel about it. I feel like you shouldn't have to make a statement, and they shouldn't call you out and say, are you going to make a statement? What is happening right now is terrible. The issue that started with Mr. Floyd being killed is awful. No one is for police brutality. If you want to say that was a racial event, no one's for that. You shouldn't have to make a statement. One of my favorite comedy bits of all time is Chris Rock, and he does this bit where he says, a guy says to him, and I'm sure many of you have seen it, a guy says, I pay my child support. I take care of my kids. And Chris Rock replies back and goes, that's what you're supposed to do. What do you want, a cookie? So I don't think you have to necessarily signal that I'm a good person. Look, I'm a good person. I'm against racism. Good, you should be. You don't get a cookie for that. You shouldn't have to say it. I don't think you should be forced by someone to have to say that. I don't think you should be forced to say that you find it horrific that man was killed in that fashion. Of course you find that horrific. I just think that coaches should be allowed to coach. They should be able to spend this time with their families. There's still a coronavirus out there going on. It's not gone. So, I mean, people want to take the opportunity to get away from, and I'm with it. And I shouldn't be talking about it for this long, but I feel like people want to take the time and get away from that, and they want to fall into entertainment and sports. And unfortunately for us, there is no entertainment going on. There are no sports going on. So now we're trying to drag all of these people into all of this madness, the coronavirus and the riots and everything else. And I just don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair. And hopefully what I said didn't offend anybody, but if it did, oh well, that's my opinion. I just don't think that everyone should be drugged in and be forced to make a statement. I don't think that every team should be forced to make a statement. I just don't. I don't think it makes them bad people. If you don't want to make a statement about something, it doesn't make you a bad person. It just means that you don't want to get involved. And that's, for a long time, that was okay. But for a lot of people now, they think, well, I'm involved, so you should be involved too. And I don't think that has to work that way. And that's my opinion on that. So let's talk about something else now. I spent 4 minutes and 48 seconds talking about something that I said we shouldn't talk about. So let's talk about things that actually do matter. Let me give you a quick update of what's going on here. Of course, some of you know me. My name is John Todora, as I said earlier. I do trade sports for a living. That's what I do. I created a process called ScoreMetrics that allows me to use the sports markets the similar ways that people use the stock market. I created systems that are trader-based systems, and I transferred all of that knowledge that I learned from these trader-based systems, and I moved it over to sports, and I make a lot of money throughout 3 different seasons throughout the year. Right now, I only do football, baseball, and basketball, but I am working on a hockey system, and I played around earlier in the year with the UFC system. I played around with it. I was showing you guys some of the stuff that was going on with it here. You'd probably find it in the archives, actually. And the system worked for a little bit, but I was kind of trying to show people how I create these systems. I usually don't do them live like that, but I was just trying to have a little fun and bring people along and show them what we were doing. And actually, if you would have followed the system, you would have made you could have, doubled your money 1 week, and the next week you would have won 40%. So it was a good little system that worked for a minute. But anyway, so back to what we're talking about here, which is current sports. We need current sports, and in order for this to happen, we have to start making some deals between the players and between the owners and the unions, and we have to just make this happen. The one sport that's in the forefront for me, at the very least right now, is baseball. Baseball is it's out there, and it is dangling. And to me, it is going to be such an incredibly huge mistake if they can't find a deal. If they can't make a deal, if they can't put it together, people are going to be so upset. Really. There's so much going on right now. We talked about the civil unrest, touch on the fact that there are 30 to 40 million Americans who don't have a job. And you have these privileged millionaires out there who don't want to go play baseball because they're not being paid, $6 million. Instead, they're only being paid $2 million. So there have been some things along the way. Again, there's another video in one of the archives you can take a look at. Let me put you up to date with what is actually happening right now. So this is what was proposed by the owners. The owners proposed an 82-game schedule, which is basically half the season. A baseball season is normally 162 games. 81 games would have been half. I don't think they wanted to play an odd number, so they just proposed an 82-game season. Would have been a regional schedule. You would have only played, around your area. You would have played with a universal DH, which means pitchers wouldn't have hit anywhere. I don't know why that was an issue, but they just decided to make it so that pitchers would never hit. They had rosters, a 30-man extra active roster, a 20-man player taxi squad. Just in case somebody were to get coronavirus, you could pull people off the taxi squad that would be able to play. And 14 teams would make the postseason, which is more than the amount of teams that make it right now. I think 6 make it right now. So 2 extra teams would have made it, and the playoffs would have been played in October, which would have been very cold, but it would have been kind of cool to have football and baseball going on at the same time, and all the way into October. That would have been kind of neat. So That proposal was put out. The players lost their minds because this also came with quite a big pay cut. The players lost their minds, said we would not possibly accept this. And the players made a counter proposal. The players' counter proposal was to add more games, 114 game season. Players have the right to opt out of participating in the season. There's a salary to a deferred plan, which basically meant the owners signed a deal with the players in March that said that they would pay them their pay on a prorated basis. So if we don't get to play 162 games, we only get to play 81 games, we would pay you half your money. So when the owners came back with the offer that I just showed you on the screen, what happened was the owners had changed the amount of money they were willing to share, because the original agreement was based on the fact that the owners thought that they were going to be able to pay the players with fans in the stands. They were going to make the revenue from live crowds, which is obviously not going to happen now. So now these baseball owners are being forced to only accept the money that they're going to get from their television contracts. Excuse me. And in some of the smaller markets, those television contracts just aren't that much money. So if you have a team that's making $45 million in salary for the entire team, plus whatever it costs to actually run the organization, and your television contract is $6 million, you're in big trouble because there is no extra money coming anywhere else. So back to this plan right here. This proposal was made by the players. The players are proposing a 114-game season. Now, the players are going by the amount of money that they were originally promised in March, which is a prorated value. So the players are trying to get the most money they can. 114 games, we can squeeze it in. And I saw the proposal of how they're going to lay out the games. It's like doubleheaders every Sunday. You know, this is actually calling. This plan would work if it was perfect weather. There's no corona outbreak. It's basically putting the owners in a box of saying you got to figure out a way to rush these games out here and make this happen. So it'd be a 114-game season. Sorry to jump around. I wanted to make sure that I made everybody aware of what the original plan was. Players having the right to opt out of participating in the 2020 season. So if you don't feel safe, you can choose not to play. That's it. You can give up the year. It won't affect your contract. We're giving you the opportunity to just not play. We'll call someone from the minor leagues to take your place. The salary deferred plan is in the event the postseason is canceled. So if something were to happen and the season were to be canceled or shortened, excuse me, the players want to know they're going to get paid. So you've guaranteed our money. Now we start the season, so you're going to pay us. That's what they want. They also want 2 years of the expanded playoff format this year and next year. I don't know what that was for. I don't know why they're asking for that. And the players are always also asking to receive a $100 million advance for the next spring training that'll come up. So they'll probably give them a few weeks to get ready before the season starts. Now, for those of you that know me, you know that, well, excuse me, I do this sports trading thing for a living, but for a long time as an entrepreneur, I've owned several multi-million-dollar businesses. I understand the way to negotiate. I think I'm pretty decent at it. I'm looking at this, and I'm saying to myself, if I'm an owner and this was proposed to me, I would think to myself, I got him right where I want him, because the players are asking for a $100 million advance for spring training, which means that some of these guys don't have enough money to live off of. So you have guys that are looking for a paycheck, thought I was going to be getting a paycheck. Now I'm not getting one. Now I'm in a little bit of a bind. What am I going to do? Let's ask for some money up front so we can start to get paid for spring training. So you've got people in a position that need money. These guys need cash. So what's going to happen now is that the owners have come back and they've made a counter proposal to this. So this was the proposal that was pitched from the Major League Baseball union. The owners came back and they said, no, you know what? If you guys want your prorated salaries, if you want to be paid for every game like you're supposed to be paid, that's absolutely fine. Instead of the 82-game season, we'll pay you for 50 games. That's what we'll do. We'll just have a really short season. It'll be 50 games. We'll knock out some playoffs. People will have baseball in their lives. We'll get a season out of the way, and then we'll move forward next year with a brand new season. So what this does, though, is this is going to put the rich against the poor. And the poor is a relative term. We're talking about people in baseball that aren't making as much as the $25 to $30 million guys. Because the owner's proposal really took care of the people that were on the bottom end of the salary scale, which is most of the players. But the people that complain the most, that had the most weight, are the big name players that were able to come back and say, look, I don't play a baseball game for less than $140,000. I'm not playing a baseball game for less than that. I make $28 million a year, and I'm not playing for less than my prorated value, whatever that is. So this is going to cause a class war between the players in the union. I can't imagine that a player who was, say, a $500,000 a year player who was offered $260,000 when the owners came back and said, look, we're going to cut your pay, but we're only going to cut you in half, is now going to look at this 50-game season, if you're following along with what I'm saying, is now going to look at this 50-game season and say, hang on, I was going to get paid this much. Now I'm only getting paid for 50 games. Like I'm getting less than a third of my pay. I'm really going to get a huge cut here. So I don't know where they're going to meet in the middle. I don't know. And I think we're going to find out this week. I think it's happening this week. If I'm wrong, I would be shocked. But I think it's going to happen this week. I think we're going to find out this week, and we're going to find out whether they're playing or not, because time's running out. If they want to get this thing started in July 1st, the first week of July, second week of July at the latest, they got to make a deal right now and get these guys out there playing. Now, there are variables that are going to get in the way here. Obviously, they have to figure out a way to make a deal. And they have to figure out all of the implications of that deal financially. Then they've got to make arrangements to get these players where they need to be, the coaches where they need to be. It's going to be a rush. And there is something hanging in the background right now that I don't think a lot of people are taking into consideration. That coronavirus is not gone. It has not left. And what we were counting on as a country, and I think globally, was the fact that summer was here. And whenever summer was supposed to come, as the temperature started to rise and got over 75 degrees on a consistent level, and the sun was brighter and the UV rays were stronger, that the virus would not spread as fast. This was taking into account that people were going to stay away from each other. If you've looked on the news lately, people are doing pretty much anything but staying away from each other. They are on top of each other during these protests and these riots. I don't think this is going to go well. And if there's another relapse, we're going to have a lot of trouble getting baseball back. And that's going to suck. So let's talk about some fights right now. I gotta tell you, I'm more than a little upset about what's going on with Jon Jones. I am. Jon Jones is probably my favorite fighter. I don't think there's a guy that I like more than Jon Jones. I do like to watch Conor fight. I mean, I do like to watch guys like, there are some guys like to fight. But something about Jon Jones, the way he fights, the length, the fact that he's really never in trouble. He to me is the best fighter I've ever seen, and I think a lot of people feel that same way. Dana White himself called Jon Jones the greatest of all time last week. And that's very high praise from somebody. Now, you would think that Jon Jones is filthy rich, right? He's been the UFC champ for a while. He's been the UFC champ for a very long time. He's probably got some endorsement deals. You would think that UFC is paying him very, 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 very well. But as we find out this week, the UFC, which is $1 billion company, is actually not paying its fighters very well at all. Which is surprising to me. When you look at it, there's a saying in business. Warren Buffett, I love to use it all the time. Warren Buffett likes to invest in companies that have a moat around them. And when he talks about the moat, what he's really talking about is he's talking about a barrier of resistance around a business. So if you're going to open a business, you want to be able to open a business that other people can't come in and compete with you right away. So you look at Geico, for instance. It's incredibly expensive to start an insurance company. So you're on TV all the time and you're seeing Geico and maybe 2 or 3 other companies, and that's it. There aren't 150,000 companies out there that can come out and really compete with Geico, because Geico has another level of money. They've got all that money to back up their insurance. They've got all that money to advertise. That is a huge barrier of entry. That is the moat that exists around Geico. UFC, I always thought, had this big moat around them because they're paying their fighters well and blah, 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 and et cetera and so on. But the most important thing is they're not paying their fighters very well at all. And this has come to light this week because Jon Jones, Jon Jones was trying to put together a fight against Francis Ngannou, who's a heavyweight. He was trying to put together a super fight. He has learned through watching all these other guys, well, Conor in particularly. Conor puts together these super fights all the time that people want to see and gets paid a lot more money. Conor McGregor's last fight, which wasn't a super fight, it was just a return against Cowboy Serrano, who he wiped the floor with in 87 seconds. Conor got paid $3 million from the UFC for that fight. $3 million. That's a good payday, actually. So how does that compare against Jon Jones? Well, we'll get into that in just 1 second. Let's talk about what happened, though. Dana White was asked a question in a press conference about Jon Jones making the super fight. Dana White said it's not going to happen right now. Jon shouldn't fight at that weight. And the money he asked for was ridiculous. He was asking for boxing money or something along those lines. Jon Jones took that very personally, extremely personally. And he actually made a comment saying that he was not happy and that did not happen the way Dana White said it happened. And then he took to Twitter. And over the course of a few days, and I think social media kills all of us, but over the course of a few days, this is the approach that Jon Jones took. His first tweet was, and I try to get these in order, and there are some tweets in between too, so I left some things out that they weren't pertinent, just so you know this isn't the order of the tweets. I don't want to be misleading here. If you're wondering, I'm not fighting with the UFC. I'm not mad at Dana or beefing. I'm just surprised he went that route. I said my piece. I'm over it. So he is saying, okay, Dana said that I said these things. I didn't say it. I'm surprised he said that. He approached it that way, but you know what? Whatever. I'm over it. That's what he says. Now, hours later, he says, I'm not going to give up hope the way I'm taking the whole thing. They don't want to put the budget for a Jon Jones heavyweight move up. They should have just said that instead of lying on me. I think it's unfair. It was unnecessary. So he's saying, I understand you don't have the money right now because there's no live gate. So you don't have the money right now to pay me to go up to the next weight division, weight class. So yeah, okay, whatever. I'll just kind of let it go. He's basically having a conversation with himself. Somebody tweets to him, well, wouldn't you have the text though too? Because Jon Jones is saying there are no texts. I mean, the Dana can't prove that. I never text that. So Jon Jones replies and says, there are no texts. So now he's getting a little bit mad. So he's taking a little bit of heat on social media. He's getting a little bit mad. People are under his skin, and he's starting to respond a little more angry. At no point did I ever demand anything from you, Dana. This is his response. I simply asked for a super fight and asked to be compensated for it. You are the one who started taking negotiations publicly and showing the world how much you've been withholding from your athletes the whole time. Now you can see that these texts are starting to get personal. Jon Jones is absolutely positively taking what has happened personal now. Now, to me, as far as I know, there's been no interaction between he and Dana White at this point. He's just starting to get angry, and this is probably happening because there are voices in his head around him, as well as the voices on social media that are calling him a sucker. Guy says, you're hurting yourself more than the UFC, brother, if you actually quit. And he says, I hurt myself every time I walk out there and take a punch in the head. I don't feel my pay is worth it anymore. Well, okay. So Jon Jones is the longest reigning champion I can remember. I mean, he's been champ forever. He is an unbeatable force to me. I mean, and not just to me, he's undefeated. He's literally unbeatable. Jon Jones can only beat himself by doing stupid shit. That's basically what it comes down to. Jon Jones is also not paid at the same level Conor McGregor is. And I was shocked to find this out. Conor McGregor's made an average of $3 million over the last 3 or 4 fights he's had. Jon Jones has averaged, can you guess it? Jon Jones has averaged about $500,000 for each fight that he's fight over the last 4 fights. That is a huge difference. There is going to be animosity that is built up when you have a guy who just fought a fight and doesn't even have a belt against a nobody. No offense to Cowboy Cerrone, he's been fighting for a long time, but that's not a big name guy. He's fighting against a nobody. I did it again. You see that? He's fighting against a nobody, and he's getting paid $3 million. And Jon Jones, who is the greatest, maybe the greatest champion that UFC has ever seen, is making only $500,000 every time he fights. He only fights twice a year. So Okay, I get it. He's making $1 million, but he's right. He's right. He made a couple of other comments saying the NFL takes care of their players better. Well, compared to what he's making, he's right. He's absolutely right. This. There's going to be fallout from this. There's going to be huge fallout from this, and I think somebody might see this as a sign of weakness. Somebody might see this as a moat you can jump over and start a new promotion and say, you know what? We can get a lot of these guys. We could talk to a Jon Jones whose contract is coming up. You could talk to a Conor McGregor and bring these guys over and say, hey, Conor, you were making $3 million over there. I'll pay you $5 million over here. You think any of these guys need the UFC brand? If you start bringing over brand name fighters to other places, then there will be another UFC. This is going to be a problem. Now, I don't know. Maybe Jon Jones retires and that's it. He's done. Maybe he says, you know what? I've made $7 million in earnings, and maybe he's making a decent amount of money off of some sponsorships from whomever. I don't know what he's making from that, but maybe he's got maybe he's got a business that he opened up that I don't know about. I don't know any of that. I just know that this is a fighter that's frustrated with the amount of money that he's making, and it certainly seems like he's going to walk away. Now, I do have one last thing to show you. This is Jon Jones's Twitter page. He apparently has said he is giving up the UFC title, but he's had a few days to change the belt and get it off of there, and he hasn't done it yet. So maybe his attitude is, hey, I was a champ for a long time. I'm leaving that up there. I'm still a champ. Or maybe he's saying, I'm not walking away yet. I just want to see if I can get more money. And if that's the plan here, it's a pretty strong move. I got to give him some credit. All right. Let's touch on the NBA real quick. Because I need sports. I need sports so badly. The NBA is talking about bringing back 22 teams. They're going to keep some teams home that are completely out of contention. You're saying, oh, well, you weren't very good. You guys can stay home. They're going to bring back all the teams that are still in contention. I have no idea how they're going to make that work with the schedule. And then they're going to either keep the playoffs the way they are, or they're going to do an expanded playoff that would end somewhere around October. And so this is all going to be running concurrently, and then restart the NBA season in late December, right around Christmas. So the players would theoretically only have a few months off, really maybe 2 months off. And some of that would be part of their spring training or whatever they want to call it, their preseason. So it's going to be a very, very strange season coming up for the NBA. I will say this. I've heard discussions before, and it's a great idea, really. It's a great idea to start the NBA season at Christmas time anyway. When they start any earlier, it's almost like that first half of the season almost doesn't count for a lot of fans because the NFL is still going on. The NFL still kind of owns what's going on. When you hit December, there are a lot of teams that are now out of contention in the NFL, and teams are looking for hope. Cities are looking for hope, Like, man, I'm an Atlanta fan. Well, the Atlanta Falcons are out of it, and this sucks, and I can't believe it. Oh, the Hawks are getting ready to start playing? Oh, yeah. Yeah, we got a chance again. Sports is just about hope. So you got the Braves are done. The Atlanta Hawks are I'm sorry, the Falcons are out of it, and you're like, oh, man. But basketball's coming up? Yeah, we still have hope. So I think it's a great move for the NBA. I think this will be fortuitous for them. Obviously, they lost some money this year, but they didn't lose as much as a lot of other as baseball's going to lose. They lost if they come back and play a few games, they may lose like 8 or 9 games out of the regular season. They should still get their playoffs in, and this may put them on a better path, a better trajectory as far as when they're going to start their seasons. If they can start them around Christmas from now on, give the NFL the fall. Have it. Have the fall. That's absolutely fine. Whenever the NCAA comes back, let them have it too. Get people excited. Christmas time starts the NBA. That's going to be super, super exciting, right? I think financially they're going to reap benefits from it. I think the schedule will look much better for them in the long run. I think they'll own times when no one else is around in a better way, in a more exciting way. I think I think if the beginning of the season is surrounded by no other sports that are important, I think you'll have better attendance early in the season. You'll have better television ratings early in the season. And then, as you get later in the season and the games mean more, I think it will mean more to that. I think overall it's just a great idea for the NBA. It's not a great circumstance of why it happened, but I think it's really going to work out for the NBA, and it's going to help a lot. Now, before I go any further, before I even go one step further, I just want to say to you guys, thanks so much for watching. We're super brand new to this. We've been doing this only for a little bit of time, and it's been tough to actually get people to watch the videos and a following. But for those of you that are finding us for the first time and watching, I do appreciate it. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It's always fun to have you guys here. I just want to say to you real quick too, if you're unaware of who I am, this show is completely sponsored by my website, which is sportstradingsystems.com. What I do is I trade sports just like you trade stocks. You can go to the website. You can sign up for the newsletter. The newsletter is free. I send you educational content all the time. Twice a week, I'm sending you educational content. Some of the stuff I've written, some of the stuff I have guys who work for me that write stuff. It's basically all information about gambling, sports gambling, but it shows you how to take that information and turn it into investment. So you can learn how to make money. It's free to join, and you go check it out. If you want to learn even more, I did write a new book. It's called The ScoreMetrics Secret, Zero Correlation Investing. If you want to go take a look at it, it shows you how to sports trade. The book is super, 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 super awesome. A lot of detail. Tells you a little bit about me, a lot about how to sports trade. The book is available on the website, so you can go check it out. It's not at a super expense. I know a lot of people are out of work. You don't want to spend a lot of money, but if you want to make an investment in yourself and get ready for the seasons that are coming up, it's not a bad idea. My name is John Todora, one last time. And again, I am the Sports Trader. Thanks so much for joining in. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and check on us next time. Thanks a lot.